Article 35A of the Indian Constitution is a provision that allows the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly to define who is a permanent resident of the state, a privilege enjoyed by no other state in India. Only the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly can change the definition of PR, the permanent resident, through a law ratified by a two-thirds majority. And the special status that allows this provision was brought in by a presidential order in 1954. The order came almost 7 years after Jammu and Kashmir acceded to India. In August 1947, when India and Pakistan became independent, Maharaja Hari Singh of Jammu and Kashmir was toying with the idea of remaining an independent state and chose not to cede to either dominion. But an organized tribal Pashtun raid on the state, fielded by the newly formed Pakistan, left the Dogra king with no option but to send out a letter to India.
There was an agreement between the Maharaja, the monarch of Jammu and Kashmir, and the Union of India way back in 1947. And Maharaja, Dr. Karan Singh recently said in the parliament that J&K state did not merge into the Indian Union. It ceded only 3 subjects to the Union government and retained the rest of it. That's external sovereignty was ceded, surrendered, but internal sovereignty was retained by the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir.
The instrument of accession gave India control over defence, communication and foreign affairs. And while all the other princely states, that's more than 550 in number, that eventually merged their identity into the Union of India, Jammu and Kashmir did not. But by January 1950, when the Indian Constitution came into effect, it treated Kashmir as part of the Indian Union. However, the Indian Constitution guaranteed the state a certain autonomy, and thus was born Article 370 that gave the state its special status. And one of them was the continuance of the Jammu and Kashmir Constitution. Later in 1952, Prime Minister Nehru of India and the Prime Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Sheikh Abdullah, entered into the Delhi Agreement, whereby it was agreed that Jammu and Kashmir would have full power over subjects other than those acceded under the instrument of accession. And Article 35A was a product of that Delhi Agreement. It enabled the Jammu and Kashmir legislature to define permanent residents and provide them with special privileges.
Agreement is unilaterally being broken, and they are taking the judicial route. That is the understanding among people of Kashmir. They see it as breach of faith, and which we call Vishwasgat in Hindi. So that's the understanding here.
A person who's been born here is a Kashmiri. A person who has an ancestral lineage is a Kashmiri. A person whose history, whose ancestry resonates with the values of Kashmir is a Kashmiri.
35A जो है जो जम्मू के हित में नहीं है, मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि इसको तत्काल खत्म करना चाहिए.
अगर आर्टिकल 35 एबोलिश कर देंगे तो बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम्स फेस होंगे लद्दाख के लोगों को, और इवन कैंट के लोगों को भी बहुत सारे फेस होंगे.
35A, it is the only and only bridge that is keeping India connected with Kashmir.
After all, we are part and parcel. Article 370 itself says we are integral part of our constitution. Section 3 of J&K Constitution itself admits this position.
हम इसे यहीं समाप्त करना चाहते हैं ताकि अपने जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट है वो अपना एक इनिशिएटिव ले और वो स्टेट को एक अभिन्न पार्ट अपना जो है एक अभिन्न अंग बताए और कंसीडर करके और उसे जो है अपने पूरे 100% दे के इसको डेवलप करने की ट्राई करे.
People of Kashmir are very emotionally attached with it, and they feel it's very sacred to them. they will not allow anybody to touch with 35A.
Since the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India was itself conditional on this, therefore it is implicit in that the restrictions under the Constitution, whether they are of fundamental rights or anything else, will also not apply to the laws made by the state which are within the domain of the state. There is a fundamental right to reside anywhere in the country, to practice any profession. Therefore, any citizen should be able to go and reside in Jammu and Kashmir and practice any profession, including agriculture there. Similarly, you can't discriminate against women. So therefore, any law which says that a woman who marries outside loses a right to own property in Kashmir, that can also be challenged on the ground of discrimination. But the point is that since the accession of Kashmir itself, so if it is violative of the provisions of the J&K Constitution, it can certainly be challenged. But it can't be challenged on the ground that it violates the Indian Constitution.
It has a lot to do with sensitivity. If the Kashmiris feel that this was a commitment on the basis of which they had, in return for their having acceded to India. And if it is unilaterally then dispensed with by a legal proviso or even a legal action by the government of India, that is going to cause a great deal of resentment. It is already causing resentment. The fact that it is being considered is causing resentment.
The articles have been sensitive issue for the people of Kashmir, and now the recent flush of protests in support of maintaining Article 35A have pulled down barriers. This time, even the political parties are up in arms to defend this special provision, claiming that if it is diluted or removed, it will alter the demography of India's only Muslim majority state, because it would allow people from outside Jammu and Kashmir to acquire property in the state and thus grant the right to vote as Kashmiris.